Hello, and welcome to Please Don't Send Me in Outer Space, the podcast intent on exploring all that science fiction and fantasy has to offer, one movie at a time. If you or anyone you know has any information on this podcast, contact Joel or Sarah. Say hi.
Hi, this is Sarah.
Or our number one investigator, Aaron.
Name disclosed, please.
Mystery Man.
Just make sure that my picture... Oh, it's a podcast, and no one's going to see my face anyways. But make sure my appearance and voice are
Altered.
Oh yeah, we can also we could change your voice.
Altered voice.
And that's when I went in the backyard and I saw the Fresno alien.
The Fresno alien was lighting up the sidewalk steps, just like in that Michael Jackson video. Is really cool.
The drawing of the Fresno alien's way more scary than the picture.
Well, because of Fresno, it just looks like a pair of pants, but
which it might just be, but still.
It's a pair of pants in, like, stilts or something.
A pair of glow-in-the-dark pants.
All this and more on our current episode of Please Don't Send Me into Outer Space. The movie this week is The Mothman Prophecies from 2002, directed by Mark Pellington and written by Richard Haddam, based on John A. Keel's book. Starring Richard Gere, Laura Linney. Why would you put that person there instead of the actual person who stars in it? Will Patton. Thank you. And,
Deborah Messing.
Deborah Messing. A cameo by Deborah Messing as the lady who sees something and then crashes a car. Spoiler. She crashes a car.
What's the lady cop's name?
Laura Linney?
Laura Linney.
Yeah.
That's the actress, yeah.
Yes. His wife's name was Mary, played by Deborah Messing, and Laura Linney's character was named Connie. Connie Mills. Officer Connie Mills. Anyway, so I picked this movie because I love this podcast called Astonishing Legends. It's a podcast done by Scott Philbrook and Forrest Burgess. And they talk about different, like, legends and, ghost stories and, obviously the more famous stuff, Dyatlov Pass. They've done Mothman, obviously. They do things that are not necessarily out of this world also, that are just like persistent mysteries they have. They go deep into the history on things. It's a really good podcast. I highly recommend it. And they have basically a 5-part series on the Mothman, not including when they interview the screenwriter for the Mothman Prophecies, where I think they do talk about it a little bit with him. But one of the very first things when you're listening to the Mothman series is them talking about how they really like the movie and they thought it was good. And I, having seen this back in the early 2000s, like when it probably just after it came out, I don't think I saw it in the theater, liked it too. Thought it was atmospheric. Thought it was an interesting story. And anytime somebody's like, "Oh, it's based on true events," it's that's going to be like, yeah, I gotta check this out. I gotta figure out more about this.
Yeah, man, yeah.
So let me just say before we get into this that I really like that podcast, and I really didn't like the movie this time, and I hope that nobody takes offense that we're going to tear into this, because
that's fair enough.
We got a general feeling all together here. So, what'd you guys think of the Mothman Prophecies?
Well, thank you, Joel, for that open disclosure of how we all feel about it. I caught this movie a few times on cable and or satellite television over the years, and it's always little snippets here and there. But I remember the feeling I had at the time is like, man, this movie looks real serious. Like, this is a serious time.
Really creepy.
Real serious here. Like,
it's serious business, Aaron.
Yeah, no, and you're right, because anything dealing with Mothman, it's got to be pretty serious. I agree. So yeah, watching it in I guess, the correct order this time around, I was pretty underwhelmed. Which is kind of a bummer, because when you got such a cool cryptid like the Mothman involved, I was pretty excited for, well, what are his prophecies? What's going on? And so there were definitely parts of the movie I liked, but I felt that the overall pacing of the film just kind of,
left a lot to be desired.
But I'm here. I'm excited to talk about Mothman and his prophecies.
Momar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Momar. Is that what he's known by his friends?
That's all right. I'm going to call him
Momar.
Mothman Momar. Sarah?
Well, I guess I didn't like it that much either. I guess there are some funny parts that I don't think are intended to be funny. And I think partially the fact that we were all watching it together in the same room, like, we kind of were having a fun time and it was more lighthearted, but like maybe if I was alone in the dark watching it by myself, it would have been a little bit creepier or more jump scares or something. I feel like, based on the source material, that the source material makes it sound like it was a whole lot scarier than what happened in this movie. And I mean, I guess the objective wasn't necessarily to tell a true story of what happened with the Mothman. It was kind of, the story to me felt like Richard Gere's story, which is like kind of a composite character of people who had actual Mothman experiences, or, alleged Mothman experiences.
In that particular time period in Point Pleasant. Yeah.
Right. It definitely wasn't a period-accurate movie if it was supposed to take place at that point in Point Pleasant.
It lends to the tale that Richard Gere's character is this reporter, though.
Yeah.
Because in that way, he can take all these sightings, because obviously he's trying to work on the case now.
Right.
So he can take all those sightings and, make a cognitive story out of it. So definitely, like you said, he's the mouthpiece to the insanity. Agreed.
So, Joel, do you want to lay some information on us about the Mothman, or would you rather go over the movie? Or
Well, first of all, Aaron,
yes.
you call the Mothman a cryptid. I don't feel like that's a fair way to, even though, like, the definition of a cryptid
This guy
is a species of animal that, or person.
Well, how do you know there isn't a whole species of Mothman?
Well, hold on, let me finish.
All right.
Aaron Cornelius, who lives at no.
Whoa! Don't dox me on my own podcast.
Identity withheld, Joel.
Yeah, undisclosed weirdo sitting in the chair over here. You can call me Bartman.
It's a creature that's supposed to exist that has not been scientifically evident. It doesn't have scientific evidence of it, right? That's the definition of a cryptid, right?
I don't think we have any cemented footprints of the Mothman laying around anywhere.
No, that's my point, though. There hasn't been an occurrence of other Mothmen. I feel like there's lots of Sasquatches. There's lots of love passes. No, wait, that's not a creature.
What was that again?
Nessies.
Oh, Nessies.
Yeah, lots of thems. No, probably not. It's.
So you're saying there isn't enough evidence to supply for that Mothman being a cryptid?
No, I'm probably totally wrong.
No, I don't. I'm just trying to understand.
You're just starting a conversation.
Yeah, and that's what
Interesting.
Cryptid, like the idea of
I'm interested in what the term means too.
Internet technology, terminology.
Mm-hmm.
Cryptids feel like cuddly fun to me. Like, even if it's supposed to be something, scary,
like the Jersey
scary.
Devil?
Yeah, like, oh no, actually look at this cartoon we made of it or something like that.
Okay.
The Mothman from the tales that I know
Right.
sounds like a terrifying, like
a force of nature.
Exactly. Yeah, like that.
An apparition, some sort of
it's
otherworldliness, more otherworldly than just some, like, creature that happens to be eating out of your trash can.
Truly an animal.
Okay.
In the sense that I don't think we would be able to relate it to it if it was a thing that actually existed and we could, see it and communicate with it. Yes, see, cartoon, adorable Mothman.
You think
Sarah
that
showed me a
frog
picture.
guy looks cuddly?
Yeah, give him a kiss. Give that frogman a kiss.
I think we need to give that frogman some pants, is what I'm saying here.
Oh, Miss Piggy likes him the way he is.
Oh.
But the way I think of Mothman, I don't know if they go into this in Astonishing Legend. I think they might. Is that he's from like a different dimension.
Oh.
And the whole reason that they were showing up is because this thing had escaped from that dimension into this dimension.
So you're saying that there is a parallel dimension to ours, where perhaps man did not evolve from ape, but from moth.
No, I don't think he's literally a moth. I think that was just what they could, because in the story they even say the newspapers named him after a Batman villain.
Okay.
He's more like an owl. Owlman. No one's ever used that name before, right?
Well, let's look at his statue real quick, Joel.
No, that's a terrible statue.
Can we look at his statue?
That looks like the statue. That looks like the character from Watchmen.
Are you sure that's not an accurate representation of what the Mothman may look like, Joel?
Listen, they're making a lot of money off of that tragedy, 40 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a bummer.
Try not to think of that.
Fair enough. That statue's pretty badass, though. I don't know. I had a separate reaction.
It's got like golden eyes or red eyes or something.
Red eyes,
like that, right?
dude.
No, Goldeneye, the video game.
You're saying that there's a satellite above Earth right now that's called Mothman? I bet there is.
N64 copy of Goldeneye.
Yeah, I listened to the podcast too, and it is a really cool. We really liked that, and I think that they put some interesting ideas out there about what the Mothman could be potentially, or why he appears to people the way he does. But the thing that's tough for me is, like, the information, the inaccurate information. The fact that it's not lining up the way it's supposed to. Kind of like, maybe the Bible codes. I don't know, but I do think that these people were terrorized by something. I do think that they had they were being harassed by something. And I don't know what it was, but yeah, it does sound like, just based on the facts, that there were too many people. What?
Oh, sorry, sir. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Aaron's showing me the photoshopped copy of a Mothman creature at 9/11.
Is that really 9/11?
Yes.
Oh my god.
It's a fake picture. But anyway.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That's not 9/11.
Yes,
you know,
9/11
was predicted by the Bible codes too.
Yes, I heard that. I have heard that before. Anyways, I think that the Mothman story and the Point Pleasant story and the bridge collapse and the Indrid Cold, and basically John A. Keel's whole thing is an interesting kind of detective work of journalism. John A. Keel, the person who wrote the book, was a journalist. So I think Richard Gere was supposed to, be obviously supposed to be the whatever cipher of him. But this movie, and it's incredibly self-serious and overly saccharine, condition they had to make him in, his killing his wife dying tragically in the beginning. That's one thing. The fact that she saw a cartoon Mothman flying at her, that's the moment that I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like this movie anymore, is when Deborah Messing and Richard Gere are driving, after they've been kissing around, and they're going to buy a brand new big old house, and she's driving, and all of a sudden there's like a flash of light, and a cartoon Mothman with red eyes flies towards the car. And of course, she crashes the car, hits her head. Turns out she's had some super rare form of cancer, and she passes away. And that's Richard Gere's just a lost man after that. But his wife is like, "Did you see it?" It's like, oh, maybe she had a brain cancer. Maybe it was just a trick or something like that. She was also drawing these pictures, right?
Yeah, she was drawing some pictures. She got a hold of some black and red crayons.
She went down to the children's ward. Took all the black and red crayons. I like that artwork, I gotta say. Whoever was doing that shadowy, scary figure artwork in the movie, nice work.
Yeah, it definitely adds to what the tone they were trying to go for. So Joel, you're a Mothman expert, right?
Oh, yes. I'm quoted in several magazines as a Mothman expert.
So that scene where the Mothman was all up in their grills, like you mentioned,
when they run into the grill of the car.
Yeah. This particular scene, is that accurate to any what you were listening to on podcasts and things?
Yes, that definitely happened.
Okay.
No, it didn't happen. That's stupid.
So that was just a dramatic flair for this movie.
Listen, there was a mysterious creature flying around Plum Crescent, causing all kinds of trouble and stuff like that, but it's really stupid that something would run into a car.
Well, that's what I'm trying to... the Mothman throughout this film, other than this moment where he's, flying right at you.
Yeah.
He's
coming at you.
Coming right at you. He seems to be a very, intelligent creature who happens to know...
Did somebody say Mothman?
Well, I mean, I don't know how much... I don't want to take the podcast off the rails, but it just seems like the way he's shown at this moment is unlike everything else in the rest of the movie, where he's more of just this presence felt than seen, maybe.
It doesn't make any sense, especially with Richard Gere not having also witnessed this, because it leaves an imprint in the car, an imprint that he later sees in Point Pleasant at somebody's house on a tree that the Mothman was supposedly at. And, yeah.
Well, let's get our Bibles out and let's start going through every 50th letter, and maybe we can...
You're in the Bible, can't help you here.
Oh, okay.
Only those people from other places can help you.
I wonder if the Bible code's been used in other texts as well. This is some interesting stuff, Sarah.
Like the something code,
I mean, it's in the Da Vinci Code. I'm pretty sure.
The Da Vinci Code.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ewan McGregor's all up on that. Wait, that was the second movie. Whatever that one was.
And I think that's... But going back to my point, though, I think that's one of my problems with this movie is that he jump scares you. The Mothman jump scares you in this movie, and then the rest of the time he's just kind of squeaks at you through the phone.
Well, what do you guys think is the scariest part of this movie that we saw? Is it the part where he is talking on the phone to the goofball and he says he's got chapstick in his hand? Or the part where the phone rings?
Man, I wish I had it together enough for us to do an animated version of that scene. So I could get Joel to do the Mothman voice into the mic. Chapstick!
It's me, Android Code. Where's my watch? I don't give it. Okay, was the scariest part when his cell phone... There's a lot of phone stuff in this, now I think about it. And then that guy from the Sex and the City's like, you need to come back to New York, you need to be a nice girl or something like that. You can't just be out there in, what'd you say, West Virginia? What the hell's wrong with you?
That's Point Pleasant, sir. Sex and the City, mister.
Yeah. Well, Miranda kicked me out again after. I don't know.
Joel has secret Sex and the City knowledge, doesn't he?
Listen, I've got a lot of Sex and the City knowledge, okay?
Secret Sex and the City knowledge.
It's not a secret.
Okay, fair enough.
I saw...
Oh, it's on a podcast now, so
I saw Sex and the City 2 in the theater.
Oh, sick.
And it was real bad.
Did you put that on your moviewatchlist.com?
Oh, this one came out a long time ago. Shut up.
What?
Letterboxd?
You Letterboxd?
It's in there.
Okay, cool.
It's in there with a picture of me.
Proud of you, bud.
At the premiere.
Proud of you. At the premiere? At the premiere of Sex and the City 2 with the Mothman. There's Joel.
I got my... what do they call Milana Blancs? Milana, I got my Milana Trumps. Melania Trumps.
Are you talking about the chick that was in Blossom?
No, I'm talking about the shoes. Shoes carrying. Manolo Blancs. Got my Manolos, I got my Cosmo, and I'm ready to go, okay? But we're talking about the Mothman. Sarah?
What?
Will Patton was your favorite character, right?
Will Patton.
Because he was crazy.
This movie.
You guys, I just thought of an alternative theory.
Okay, I want to hear this.
To the movie?
To the Mothman.
I was about movie.
I was really hoping you were going to say life, because I was ready for alternative theory for life. I'm like, I'm ready.
It's called Swimming into the Ocean. Oh, it's so refreshing.
So, is there a question that I was going to answer? You said, what did I think was the scariest part? And then you said, did I think that guy was my favorite character?
Yeah, I think he was asking you what you thought of Mr. Patton.
Well, I want to hear what you thought. Like, I mean, I don't think many things work in this movie, so I don't even want to go. I don't even, like, we were talking about before, how can we handle this in a way where we're not going to be just tearing at the movie? I don't really want to be digging through what we have to, like, pull out those gems, necessarily.
I feel like it wasn't really based on true events. I feel like it was, like, mad-libbed on true events.
Right, there you go.
It was like somebody wrote on a bulletin board some names and some, like, maybe few experiences and just a couple short words, and then they were just like, okay, well, that is gonna go here, and this one's gonna go like that, and then the story of the movie's actually gonna be this guy, and yeah, the crazy guy was probably one of my least favorite things. The Laura Linney character, too. I mean, I like her as an actress, but her character was kind of 2D. Just because she was just nice, and she was kind of there for his support. Like, she was definitely experiencing the journey with him, but it was always kind of about what was going on with his life and his experiences.
Yeah. And
she was just kind of like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, I'm here for you.
Like, well, what happened with this? Well, you didn't hear about that. Information lady.
Yeah, she did kind of give information sometimes. Yeah. I think I said, like, while we were watching it, that, like, it seemed like the movie was set dressing for a bridge falling down.
That's what you were talking about before. I think their plan was, like, okay, man from out of town comes into town.
Uh-huh.
In between, bridge collapses. Okay, what's this in between?
Yeah, let's come up with a story real quick here. How about he can't remember days, okay? He can't remember days. That's not sound, huh? Yeah, I can't remember
We do
days.
have lost time up on the bulletin board, so we can plug that in somewhere.
All right, we got something here.
All right.
That makes the Mothman look scarier, right? Can't remember things, but he's telling you stuff.
Wait, what if the Mothman is like, yeah, she? No, cross that out. No.
Have we talked to the CG guys yet? Have they got back on Mothman?
I don't think we got much to work on this Mothman. What? Did you guys hear about Indrid Cold, though? What's that? Oh, we got a whole story. We got a story. He's here with me now. Aaron, he's on the phone.
I was going to ask you, were you contacting him through a Ouija board?
Yes, I was. He's from a different dimension. Who knows how long, those dimensional people live.
So you're saying that there could have been multiple Mothmen shown in this film? Like their lifespans are so quick?
Well, Indrid Cold is not a Mothman.
How do you know?
Well, what does he look like?
In this movie, he doesn't have any representation at all. I mean, I think they say that he looks weird. He's like trying to look like a man, but he doesn't look like, Will Patton's accent, whatever. He's not exactly country. But Aaron, I showed you that article. They call him the Smiling Man.
I thought it was the Grinning Man.
The Grinning Man, whatever. They call him the Cigarette Man.
Oh, no! So, Indrid Cold is responsible for the death of John F. Kennedy?
Yes, he definitely is. Also, spoiler alert, Mulder's father.
Oh.
StupidTwist.com.
Was that the most recent season spoiler?
No, that's from the original.
Oh, okay. I haven't got to that episode yet.
It's like season 2. No, I don't know what season it's from.
Fair enough.
I read it from something.
I think that was a...
You gotta read the comic books.
Oh, thanks. I have a 30 Days of Night and Fox Mulder and Scully comic where they go inspect Alaska.
I mean, is it literally 30 Days of Night X-Files crossover? Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I could see that working, especially in the original 30 Days of Night storyline. Because those two sheriffs are basically Mulder and Scully.
Pretty much.
Sculder and Mully.
Scolders.
Oh, where's Mitch Pileggi?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If there ain't no, what's his character's name?
Skinner?
Yeah, if there ain't no Skinner, ain't worth watching.
Skinner's pretty good.
That's my rule. Was there any Skinner in Mothman? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Were there 3 dudes that wore glasses?
Oh, yeah. Lone gunman.
All right. Here's the headline, guys. Mothman, friend or foe?
Well, Jay Jonah's got a thing this time. It doesn't. He didn't really have a foot to land on.
Yep.
He didn't have a leg to stand on. Foot to land on, leg to stand on.
You know who didn't have a foot to...
He didn't have a butt to clang on.
The Mothman.
Yeah.
Well, Mothman don't need feet. They got wings.
He just hovers in the air.
Mm-hmm. Another character that I don't like, to go back to this movie,
sure,
is the author character that Richard Gere, I don't know where he's going to meet this guy. Doesn't seem like he's nearby. You know what I'm talking about?
The expert?
Yeah, Mr. Leak, Professor Leak or whatever.
The guy who, they had to go to they had to go to his I don't know, library or whatever.
Yeah.
He was hanging out at.
Oh, he's like an author who writes those types of books, about paranormal stuff.
Is that when we see the microfish?
Yes. Yes, it is.
The microfish of the Mothman?
Malcolm Jamal Warner? What?
What? No.
The Malcolm Jamal Warner prophecies.
Oh, boy.
He was in that first season of Sneaky Pete, and I was like, yeah.
I haven't seen Sneaky Pete.
Well, Malcolm Jamal Warner's in a couple of episodes.
Cool.
I can tell you that.
Well, thank you. I'll have to look. Is that on Hulu?
Yes.
I'll go look
No, it's not. I don't know what it is.
It's Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. And you can sign up for Amazon Prime using our special code, Mothman. Not true. If you try that, you will be disappointed.
That is that's false, Joel.
All right. See, I thought we were going to have lots of things to talk about, you guys. I need you to give me things.
The reason you picked this movie, Joel,
yes,
is because
I believe in a miracle. Why?
Because you were intrigued by the story of the Mothman.
The reason I picked this movie is because I remembered it being good, and I was told that it was good by 2 people I trusted, who I will never trust again. No, that's not true. It's an interesting story. So
the movie's an interesting story?
No. The Point Pleasant occurrence is an interesting story.
Yes.
So what is your alternate theory?
This was just something I thought of a few minutes ago when we were talking about the movie and, people seeing different things or being, harassed. And the fact that they call it prophecies or, foreshadowing of this, event, I was thinking an alternate theory besides, extraterrestrial or interdimensional could be that these are spirits that are warning the townspeople because they died in the bridge collapse.
Oh, dang.
So they may have come to the past in spirit to warn them.
Mind blown, Sarah. Mind blown.
Thanks. I thought it was okay.
Whoa.
That's a load of horse hockey. There's no such thing as ghosts. Now, aliens, those are
What about alien ghosts? No, sorry.
Don't be ridiculous.
I'm a skeptic about all of it, but I was just like, wait a minute. Why are they pestering these people in this town?
Well, yeah, because my problem with it is that I always felt that, like, if the Mothman was this powerful entity, why don't you just tell him in advance that this thing was going to happen, you know? Like,
because
instead of talking about chapstick,
you're mixing it up. Indrid Cold in the movie is not the Mothman.
Well, yeah, and I
two
understand
different
that.
things.
I understand that.
Okay.
He makes it seem like, in the movie, it makes it seem like Indrid Cold is the Mothman.
I didn't get that, but maybe I'm not dumb. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I thought they were both the same being.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
To be honest.
Listen, Aaron, someday you'll go to school and you'll learn all about the Mothman. And then you can come back and join us at this class.
That's why I'm on this podcast, Joel, to learn from you. Because I know you're the expert on
Mothman can't talk. He's a monster that flies into cars and trees, apparently.
So he needs the grinning man in order to communicate.
Well, no, Indrid Cole is a searcher. He's searching for the Mothman, I think, to capture it and take it back. That's what I was talking about before. Different dimensions.
Okay.
This thing doesn't belong in our dimension, and it eats dogs. Which is not what they say in the movie.
I'm starting to like Sarah's theory better than what you're saying.
That's true. Yeah, that's it.
I think it's spirits.
Well, what about this kid with the eyeball bleeding thing? See, that's...
Oh, yeah, no, what's going on there?
Okay.
Joel.
Okay.
Fill me in on this.
You want to tell this what relation that has?
It's okay with me, whatever you want to talk about.
You say what that is actually in the John Keel.
Well, because, like, in this movie, we're definitely getting multiple townsfolk now with bleeding eye problems. Mm-hmm. Like, at least nearer to the climax of the film. Like, you're just seeing extras walking on with, like, bleeding eyes, or just bloody-looking eyes.
Right.
Other than just the snogging high school kid.
Yeah. Richard Gere sees that one lady naked, and his nose just starts gushing blood, too.
That's anime.
Oh.
That's anime, Joel.
You're anime.
I feel like maybe that was another thing they were trying to be warned about, was like some kind of atmospheric element in the surrounding area there that could have been harming them physically. This is my theory. I don't know, but in the story we heard on the podcast, based on like actual like testimonies from people, it was kind of like having a very bright light shined in your eyes can give you a certain kind of what was it, Joel?
Conjunctivitis.
And a bunch of people had it, right? It wasn't just like one person got this weird kind of conjunctivitis you can get from bright lights. A bunch of people did. So they were saying there could actually physically be a reason that people were having that happen to them in that town.
Wow.
But they were calling it like a physical like trace or something of the Mothman.
Right, basically, whatever the third kind, fourth kind, I can't remember what that is. But we also watched that trailer, remember? The fourth kind with Mila Jovovich.
Oh, yeah, the fourth kind.
Where I think she's also afraid of a telephone. I don't remember. That didn't look very good either.
Mm-hmm. I remember having more fun with it than what I saw in the trailer, but I think it was because I was making fun of it.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the movie, there is something I like about it, because I was talking to my sister about this movie the other day, and she was like, oh, I've been wanting to rewatch that again. And I was thinking of one of my friends that I used to live with. She was my roommate for a while, and I think she's the one that I first saw it with when it first came out on like DVD or something, and she was like, you want to watch this creepy movie, The Mothman, with me? And that's sort of my memory of this movie, was that she was the person that was like, you have to see the Prophecy, and sat me down and was like,
she only liked movies with the word prophecy in it.
Her whole family sat me down and made me watch the Prophecy with them, and then were staring at me afterwards, so what do you think? What do you think?
They're like Q&A.
I was like, I don't even know.
Isn't Viggo Mortensen the devil?
I guess there's something kind of fun with the idea of a creepy thing that, or a unexplainable event or something. And the fact that they're saying it's based on a true story always makes it creepier.
Yeah.
And this friend we watched it together, and it was the kind of thing that wasn't going to terrify me for the rest of my life with gore and stuff. And I've watched movies like this with my little sister too, and I guess there's a fondness of that shared experience for me watching this kind of movie. But if I had to look at it with a critical eye, I think there are definitely some things lacking and some things that go unexplained that might make sense to you if you know more about the book and stuff that it was using material from. I'm not sure.
They don't make it interesting to watch his experience there. I think pushing it into the current time, with the cell phone and any other technology it was using, was a mistake. I think that the lo-fi-ness of the actual stories that John Keel wrote is part of the whole process there. He couldn't look at video footage or, whatever else he does. He compares audio patterns with somebody after they record a phone call with, I think it's Indrid Cold in that thing. It's these voice patterns aren't what a human's voice look like. He's not a country person. I don't know why I did that accent.
Because everybody else that Richard Gere talks to.
Yeah.
It just made me think of the much better scene in The Exorcist where the guy who's analyzing the case to see if it is something that needs to be handled, needs to be an exorcism, records Regan talking, and she's talking backwards or speaking in Aramaic or something like that. And he takes it, and it's all lo-fi. They got the reel-to-reel and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense if you play it forward, but if you play it backwards, they're clearly saying things. They're clearly answering your questions, and it's this kind of creepy, scary moment going on there. But there's I feel like that was a creepy scene back in 2000, when I first saw this movie. Probably by myself, probably being like, oh man, that would be terrifying for that to happen. If you were on the phone.
Yeah, definitely. It would be scary for you if it was an experience you were having, in real time. Yeah. But I think that I would want to get out of there and not go back.
Yeah, I don't think this is a case necessarily. I think it's a warning where I'm just okay, gonna leave this town.
Mulder would stick around. Mulder would want to find out.
Fox Mulder, Spooky Mulder is the best. What can I say?
He wants to believe.
The truth is out there.
Richard Gere wants to believe in this movie.
Oh, hardcore.
He does.
Yeah, he's got nothing better to do. He's supposed to interview some dignitary or something like that. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go to the crazy town instead. Yeehaw!
He seems to be independently wealthy.
Definitely. You see that house they were going to get?
They got the house, I think. I think that's where he is in the end.
Where he could just tear down a phone whenever he wants.
The phone, yeah.
So you're saying it's the old collect the dead wife's insurance money and blame it on the Mothman case? Is that what we're trying to say here, Joel?
He's one of those incredibly well-paid reporters.
Oh, okay.
I guess. I don't know what...
hey, no problem.
No.
I gotta
he's
collect that.
In the city, then he's traveling, then he's going back to Point Place. He's got a house, he's staying in hotels. Nobody is really floating him on this.
Well, his contact at the paper is pretty worried about him after a while. He's like, hey, you haven't checked in a while.
Yeah.
Famous reporter man.
Yeah, I thought we were supposed to go see a Sox game. No, he's not. He's not from never mind.
I'm enjoying all of your mannerisms tonight, Joel. It's good.
My mannerisms?
Your little caricatures there. They're good.
Oh, my caricature.
Mm-hmm.
I drew a caricature of
your vocal.
you riding a bicycle.
Your voice acting.
Characterization.
I drew a caricature of Sarah in a hot air balloon. What's going on?
Oh, that was good too.
Yeah.
Good
What's curious? Are you talking about like light photography?
No. It's the difference between light and shadow, Joel.
Okay.
You captured that with the charcoal. It looks good.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about the Mothman here.
Speaking of light and shadow.
Yes.
The Mothman.
Yeah.
So what we learned about the Mothman, though, like, what are things? So he can scare you, right?
He can see your chapstick.
He can see your chapstick.
No.
Or is that the grinning man?
I told you that's a different guy.
I thought so. See? That's my problem with this movie.
That's the guy who tells Will Patton stuff and makes him cray-cray.
I actually think you knew that because you had listened to the podcast before you watched the movie. I did not know it. Afterwards, I listened to the podcast, and then I knew there were two different things.
It was hard to pay attention to what was going on in the movie when we watched it because everybody was laughing their asses off. I know.
So, Joel, in Point Pleasant, they were plagued with more than just the Mothman. They also had this Ingrid fella. Like, or is that an entirely different entity? Did you already explain this earlier in the pod? But is it just an entirely different entity who's somewhere else that they just crammed into this story? Or,
no, he definitely has to do with...
Or is the Grinning Man part of the mythos
He
of
is
the
part of the mythos of Point Pleasant and Mothman.
Okay.
Basically,
so the movie was accurate on that part.
Yeah. I think what it's supposed to be is the Mothman is making appearances first, and then the Grinning Man shows up in his flying saucer. Which he definitely has a flying saucer that I wish was in the movie. But maybe they thought that was too stupid? I don't understand.
That makes me really happy that you mentioned that there's a flying saucer. They should have banked on that. This is 2002 is the prime time of, like, everyone's watched X-Files. Mm-hmm. Like, the X-Files movies have come out.
Yep.
Throw a UFO in your Mothman movie, guys.
I feel like they were trying to make it more like a romantic story or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, it's all about Richard Gere and why he hates phones. His wife died.
His wife died, and Laura Linney is interested and alive.
Yeah. That's his buddy on the phone. Hey, this Laura Linney lady, she's alive, right?
I think I wanted this movie to be more Spielbergian.
Yeah, I mean,
I wanted some
want
practical.
Most movies to be more.
Yeah, I wanted some practical effect Mothman.
It could
to be honest.
Yeah, it could have been more like retro, like The Conjuring or something, with like practical effects and like kind of old school.
Yeah,
like you were saying, like more physical, like camera stuff or reels.
Not sure what
that's what I wanted.
Condition was for like audiences in 2002, I feel like when people started doing low-key retro stuff, horror or otherwise, it was like not like people didn't assume it was going to be popular, and then like people made really good movies and that made like when it came to representing the past, like in a period piece, has to be a serious drama, has to be a romance, has to be something like that. Period piece genre films, horror, sci-fi, whatever. That's like not going to make any money. Nobody wants to see a movie like that, except for we did, and we obviously we do now because they've been making a whole bunch of them. We eat them up.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe 2002 was just before that renaissance happened.
Yeah, I just think that the whole putting it in the 2000s, thing was a mistake, and it's not the only mistake, but I do think that could have been a step in the right direction.
So you're saying it should have been based in 1965, 66?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm down for that.
For some reason, I was just thinking Richard Gere is the king of wishful thinking.
And he tells himself.
I was like, in the universe, could this be the same man that was in Pretty Woman?
Sam was in Pretty Woman. Oh, yeah.
Later on.
Red hair.
Red hair. Yeah.
They get married, they move out. You know, he leaves his job as a whatever the hell he is.
The king of wishful thinking.
Oh, and the Mothman is actually Jason Alexander. Makes sense.
It's evil.
Mm-hmm.
The Pretty Woman Mothman connection. Mothman Prophecies connection.
The
That's a tag.
Connection
Hashtag
between
right there.
Pretty Woman and Mothman Prophecies you didn't know. Also, Primal Fear.
Roy Orbison.
That feels like some sort of clickbait article that you're going to see on Facebook someday. You got to click through 70 slides in order to get to the part that doesn't even conclude anything. Nobody knows.
Point Pleasant? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
I'm like confusing it with like a fictitious town.
This is a real town. But a fictitious movie.
Roy Orbison's just always playing in the background. That's how you know he's close by.
Yeah.
It did remind me a little bit of Wings of Desire, as weird as that sounds.
I don't think that's too weird.
It's like there's a outsider who's hanging around and kind of mysterious, trench coat, whatever.
Okay.
Like, I kind of get a feeling that, like, I guess that searcher thing you're talking about could be kind of like an angel or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Wait, there's a romantic scene between the Mothman and Will Patton's character, and it's like, and I don't want the world to see me.
No, I didn't go near didn't go near City of Angels very specifically because I didn't want to talk about it.
So you're saying that's not one of your favorite
I just want you to call me Mothman.
So, that was good, Joel.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go learn the acoustic guitar and we'll record that next week.
Yeah.
I got the automaton right here.
We can do some Goo Goo Dolls covers, Joel.
No, yeah.
What are we called? What are our band called? We called?
Called the
Mothman Prophecies.
The Mothman Prophecies. For some reason, they only cover Goo Goo Dolls.
Very in joke. You have to know.
You just have to know.
You had to be there.
That's our first track. You had to be there.
Yeah, sorry, I got a little bit goofy there.
No, it's all... we're talking about Mothman.
This is very serious.
Yeah.
Pretty sure this podcast won't even be able to be uploaded online.
No,
some government agency's going to find it.
Men in Black.
I think
Delete
there
it.
could be some audio squeaks.
Oh, that's another thing that they left out of the story, Aaron.
Fill me in, Joel. Fill the gaps in.
So, when John Keel was interviewing people about their, the mysterious things that were happening around them, like a car suddenly stopping or encounters with this grinning man or people like him. It wasn't just Hendrik Cold, like there were other people it seemed like. They, at least one of the stories of the person he was interviewing said, well, they came forward after these Mothman stories started, like, appearing all over town.
Mm.
And he asked them, well, why didn't you tell anyone about this before? It's like, well, that scientist told us not to. He said, what scientist?
The scientist?
Like, well, a couple of days after this happened, we told the sheriff, about this, and the story didn't go any farther than that. And then a couple of days later, some guy, he didn't tell us where he was from, showed up in the door and said, it's better just to forget any of this happened. Don't tell anyone about it because it's for your safety and stuff like that. So basically, it's like a Men in Black, Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, Thanos. Aaron, what are you doing on your phone?
Whoa.
Thanos came to his house a couple days later and was like, don't tell anybody.
That's amazing.
Are you looking up Men in Black?
I was just
Men
letting
in Black
the Men in Black know.
Oh, no. To come to this house.
I was informing them of your address, Joel.
Are they cleaners that don't kill people usually?
Yes.
Well, I sent a 2-line message. I was like, number 1, Joel knows about the Mothman. Number 2, perpetual energy machine.
What?
Yep. Joel, they're gonna have to stop you, Joel. We gotta live on that, fossil fuels and whatnot, Can't be having clean, free energy or whatever.
So you're talking about climate change for some reason? Is that what?
No, perpetual energy machine, Joel.
I thought you were saying something about the weather. I forget.
It's all good.
What you are even on about, Aaron?
Is the Mothman weather involved character?
I don't remember him doing any weather stuff. He's definitely doing some. Listen. In the beginning of this movie, Richard Gere travels like 450 miles in a matter of an hour. Did the Mothman do that?
I think so.
Or did the Indrid aliens that are also the Mothman in the movie, but are not the Mothman, do that?
First of all, I'm shaking my head because I'm upset about this, but at the same time, I'm going to say maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe the Mothman are just slaves to the Indrid Coal people.
Yes, they have him on a chain.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like in Twin Peaks, how you could just like end up somewhere else and be like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of Twin Peaks-y stuff going on. Not good like Twin Peaks, but it could have been, yeah.
I think the creepy thing about the Mothman in the movie is like that feels like somebody is pretending to be something they're not or something.
Yeah.
Like there's an imposter or something there. I don't know. That's creepy because you can't quite define what it is you're talking about, and
there's that part later in the movie where, like, somebody's like, well, you called and said this, like, I did not call. And, like, they play back his voice. It's like, well, that is my voice, but, it's not, I did not do that. Yeah, so these things are, like, messing with them in the movie with their voice machines.
I think they took real audio and just snipped it down into the sentence that they needed.
Smithers, you're quite good at turning me on. Yeah, they're just messing with that guy. And then that guy dies, he like freezes to death or whatever.
From exposure?
Yeah.
See, that part is scary to me, that a person could just sit outside until they died.
Yeah, I mean, that's a scary thing in general.
Yeah, and there's a part on the podcast that said that there was like an area where somebody felt like a bad vibe, like just within a certain spot. They felt like they were kind of like trapped there in that area or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about like sound waves and stuff, and about whether or not different things can make people feel creeped out, like if they're around it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I did definitely not like that story about one of the person's testimony saying their dog disappeared.
Aww.
That made me very upset.
Yeah, that was a pretty detailed story there.
Yeah.
This dog running out towards something that they saw in the barn, and then the dog just being gone.
That's sad.
Yeah, it was really sad.
Mothman's gotta eat.
Well, I hope whatever dimension that pup's in right now, that he's a warrior, and that he's defeated all the Mothmen. Maybe the fleas jumped off of his fur, and they've destroyed the Mothman society.
You know what dimension he's in? The digestion dimension.
Oh,
he got eaten.
No, Aaron. He didn't, Joel.
He got ate.
He's a warrior dog.
It's like somebody ate Snoopy. Snoopy, the warrior dog. Delicious.
I have a feeling like somebody has probably eaten a Snoopy, maybe in like cake form before,
Of course.
Like when you go to Vaughn's. You can get a
it's
cake.
Like we're really eating Snoopy. Cake form. So many things whenever they buy one of those cakes that's shaped like a cartoon.
When you buy like an Iron Man head or something.
Oh my god.
Tony Stark's brains are in this cake.
You're dead, Tony.
You're dead, Tony.
I wonder if that's what Spider-Man's villains do. They just buy a Spider-Man cake.
Obadiah Stane says hello. Green Goblin. For my birthday, no Spider-Man.
Does. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say about that thing about like electrical or like a sound causing a fear reaction or something like that. We always thought that I used to work at the theater in the town that we grew up in, and we always get super creeped out in certain areas of the theater.
Interesting.
And, we talk about, like, it's haunted, like there are ghosts or something like that. And I do feel like there was one time where I had an experience where I couldn't explain what the hell happened.
I knew you were an experiencer.
But
tell me about it.
No, I'm not going to talk about that. We'll talk about it at a different time.
Okay.
But I think most of the things that can be explained, because one of the creepiest rooms was where the projector was, and we had like a super high tech projector for that small crappy theater, and I think it pumped out a lot of electrical, just like
a lot of juice.
Yeah, feeling, just off of it, like electric waves coming off of it.
Interesting.
And the other place was over near the theater because underneath there was a basement you could go down to, and that was like the power access panels for the whole block. So, the maintenance crews would have to go down there if there was a power issue or something like that. And you could hear there was a huge generators down there. You could hear that sound going down. And I really think that our entire feeling was caused from the electricity that was in the air because of those things. I don't think it was legitimately haunted or anything like that. So that makes sense to me, that feeling that he was in the podcast they're talking about John Keel, like drove through this spot, and he felt like crippling fear, but as he kept driving it just disappeared. And so he, like, in the story, he backs up, he feels it again, he drives forward very slowly, trying to determine where it was, and he eventually figures out into this like narrow bound of area where if he stands there, it's like, what is a goose walked over his grave or whatever. It's just
chilling, like,
right.
Yeah, goosebumps feeling.
And he couldn't explain it. There was no like power lines overhead. There wasn't anything like that. It's almost like a beam of fear being, applied directly into that spot somehow.
Interesting.
I never felt crippling fear at the movie theater, but waves of stuff.
I'm not really afraid of things like this, but sometimes I am afraid that, like, a really large wild animal could just, like, be near me all of a sudden and surprise me.
Like Aaron.
or that there are really big wild animals that, like, we haven't yet discovered yet.
Yeah.
Like Aaron? No.
Missing link Aaron.
My sister was talking about Bigfoot the other day.
Yeah, she was saying, like, that sounds stupid, like that, but this Mothman.
Oh, yeah, weird.
Aaron, you got a story?
Oh, I've learned some things about Sassy Sasquatch.
I want to hear.
Well,
about the skunk ape?
I mean, I hate to derail the podcast, but...
this podcast is gone.
Did you know that there are writings from a Sasquatch? From another, and the reason why we don't see them, based on these ancient Sasquatch scrolls. I'm sorry. These ancient Sasquatch. These scrolls. They reveal that the Sasquatches are actually in another dimension. That's why there aren't that many. Why'd you turn around?
He turned his back on you. The Sasquatch scrolls?
Yeah. I just learned about this recently. This is the thing. I'm not even joking.
Aaron.
I'm trying really hard.
Aaron.
I'm trying really hard here.
Aaron. I already knew about that.
Isn't that amazing, though?
No, I didn't know about any writings, but I have heard the theory that Bigfoot are from different dimensions.
Well, this is why we don't. There are only these.
They have left trace evidence behind.
No, you don't understand. There's entire scriptures now of the Sasquatch that have
on
recently...
the seventh day, my feeteth doth itch, and I stretcheth with un bigger sticketh grande.
No, man. Look, the writings in the Sasquatch are going to help.
Mine Sasquatch balls did swell.
They're going to help heal humanity. Oh, man.
They're going to help heal humanity.
Yeah, man.
There've been sightings of these particular kinds of beasts for hundreds of years. I don't see why they haven't done it yet.
Well, you know what? I gotta say this: the Sassy just lives a mysterious way.
I mean, are the Sasquatches the same thing as, say, the abominable snowman type monster?
No, you're right. I can't confirm whether or not that perhaps they're more than one type of species.
Perhaps they're at war with each other, and our planet is simply the middle ground. We're like the neutral zone.
Yeah. I wish I was more informed in this matter. I'll come back next week after I buy whatever PDF I can online.
I got several PDFs. I have to. What is the word? I can't even.
Just pay $25 to see the real Sasquatch writing.
For that kind of information, I can't afford not to.
No, there's this artist I really like. His name's Skinner, and he's been revealing some of these Sasquatch writings on his Facebook. So I've been enlightened through him about their meanings.
Interesting.
So, anywho, I'm sorry. It's really hard for me not to laugh when I think about this particular subject. So I couldn't really get the message out clear enough because I was already about to lose it.
Well, there's no writings by the Mothman.
See, that's my major problem here. At least Sassy's willing to give us a scroll or two.
It's a two-legged monster creature. This thing doesn't have any.
He probably doesn't have the.
This thing eats dogs and doesn't have hands.
You're right, Joel. You're right.
So there's that statue.
Yeah.
In Point Pleasant.
Yes.
Of the Mothman.
We've seen him.
It's got the wings.
Ruby
it
eyes.
Looks like it's got antenna and everything like
It's
that.
a really nice, shiny, metallic statue, too.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Space age.
I like it.
The Mothman representation that is mostly accepted is the creature doesn't have, like, a head and neck. It has, like, ends in the torso, and the head is in the torso, kind of thing. And it doesn't have arms, obviously it just has the wings.
Yeah.
So, it's not, like I said, calling it Mothman is just a nickname they came up with. It doesn't really look like a moth, but, people's representation, drawings of what they saw, just take that kind of stuff. Of course, this is probably all fiction, but it's a fun mystery, no matter what's going on. And in this movie, it's a terrible-looking animation.
Yeah. This movie has some pretty terrible animation in it. That's why I wish that it had some practical, kind of cool effects thrown in here and there, just to kind of give it some more authenticity for me. But yeah, that's the animation's pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that having listened to more hearsay about this creature has made the movie seem more interesting to me, because I've visualized a bunch of it in my own head now. So I guess I can kind of put together some of the images from the movie and some of the images from my imagination, and it creates more of a full, like, creepy story.
That's
cool. So I do recommend listening to that, yeah.
Cool.
And,
yes, stop listening to this podcast and listen to that.
Astonishing Legends is pretty fun. It's a pretty fun pod. But we're fun too.
Yeah.
Please don't leave us.
Please don't. Please don't send us to another podcast.
The art was really cool. Just the CG Mothman wasn't cool.
Yeah,
the movie.
Yeah, I think the big budget on effects got spent on the best part of the movie, which is when the bridge collapses. In the movie, Richard Gere's character is there at the bridge because somebody's told a prediction that he's put the clue. Him and Scoob in the game.
He's been informed.
Mm-hmm. That's another stupid thing. Like, the first time it happens, they get, like, some clue, and it's like, 99 will die. Like, I don't know what that's all about. And then later, he sees a news report, like a couple days later, like a plane crash. Yeah, and all 99 are supposed to be
99
dead.
99 on 9.
Like, whoa, that's crazy.
99 on 9,
Mm-hmm.
Joel.
And then later, he's talking to, what's his name again? Shotgun Crazy Guy. And he's like... He told me that 3, the guy told me 3 were going to die in the thing. And Richard Gere's like, well, that could have been anything. And the guy takes out a newspaper and shows him, like, wait, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing as, like, 99 on 9. Because that had come around before, and then the accident happened. Him saying, like, he told me about this 3. There's a newspaper. I can do that before. By the way, I know what the winning lottery numbers are.
They're right
Here's
here
the proof.
in the newspaper.
In this newspaper.
Oh my gosh. 99 on 9, that whole part in the movie I didn't think was very well executed because I just thought it was gibberish. Like, I wasn't, like, hanging on to the information.
Yeah.
I just thought it was some kind of weird nonsense, and then they tried to, like, connect it to this real event. And I'm like, oh, they were saying real words? That was a cool mural in that cafe or diner or whatever.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
They had a mural in there that looked awesome.
And that connects back to the John Keel story, Aaron. Because he
has a grinning man.
Like, he was, I don't know if he actually ever talked to Indrid Cold. I don't think so. Like, John Keel himself ever did. He just, like, got stories secondhand.
Sure.
But he had, like, contacts that would be like, oh, I was expecting you, and I talked to this person. Like the way that, what's his name? What is that actor's name? I've already forgotten. Will Patton.
Shotgun Crazy
saying
Guy.
in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, they told me to tell you this. And, like, one of the things he was told was, that there's going to be an assassination attempt on the Pope.
Okay.
And so he was all worried for a while, like, oh my God, I gotta get in contact with people. I gotta let people know. And it didn't happen. 2 years after everything had happened in Point Pleasant, somebody tried to assassinate the Pope.
What?
So it was, I mean, you could chalk that up to, like...
coincidence.
Yeah, coincidence and that kind of thing. Like, it doesn't happen all the time, though. And
no, you're right.
Also,
reportedly it hasn't happened. Maybe the Pope almost dies every day. Who knows?
Oh yeah, who knows? Well, yeah, they got him. I mean, they put him in that glass case after that.
That's true.
No one's allowed to touch the Pope.
That's
he's
right.
in the case.
That's right.
In the testimonies people had about the Mothman that are real, like, conversations that people have had, did they say there was a prophecy about the bridge?
No, I mean, that's just what he named his book. But I don't think that anyone had any inkling that something was going to happen in Point Pleasant, even though all those events were going to happen. Because that's, once again, one of the predictions that they... And this was, like, from the contact, they told him that on Christmas, or this blah blah day, the president is going to light the Christmas tree at the White House.
Yeah.
Like, on news, like, they do that every year.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, there's going to be a massive blackout all along the East Coast. And power's going to be out for days and days, and all that stuff. So John Keel and his writing partner was Mary. Her name was Mary. They, like, got prepared for this stuff. They got all their supplies and the flashlights and everything like that. And he was sitting there watching the TV when he was expecting this to happen. And he watches, and the president lights a tree, and nothing happens. Later that night,
false prophecy.
He's getting calls from people saying, "Do you know what happened in Point Pleasant?"
Whoa!
So that night is when the bridge collapsed.
Oh my gosh!
It was like a misdirection on purpose. I don't know.
See, that's the part that makes me think that there's some, like, it's almost not real prophecy, or that it's almost like someone playing, like, a trick on you or something.
That's why I was trying to indicate the Friend or Foe newspaper article headline earlier in our podcast, because I'm not entirely sure.
Me neither.
I'm not entirely sure if they are friend or foe. Or they're just messing, you know?
Maybe it's some kind of a warning, but, like, I don't even know, like, of what. Like, to go away, or because they feel sorry for you, or, like, or because there's some kind of, like, chemical phenomenon, like, that's gonna poison everybody. I don't know, but...
It makes me think of Greek gods, you know, tales of that stuff, or, frankly, the representation of God in the Old Testament, you know, like, these things notice a person, and then they, instead of, like, helping or benefiting somebody, they're gonna mess with them somehow. And that's a point in the movie, that when he's talking to that, the Professor Leek, or whatever his name is, Professor Oak, he's like, you know, like, well, why don't they just come out straight and tell us what it's about? It's like, well, I don't know. Have you ever tried to talk to a cockroach? Right? That's like, oh, these things are so high above us. You know? And maybe that's the whole thing. They would like, I'm really amused that you even noticed us. I'm just gonna mess with you, man.
Got it.
You're not gonna know. Some of the things I say are right. Some of the things are...
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Some type of interdimensional crank calls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, crank acres from Dimension X.
Fair enough. Okay. No, I can get behind that. I can get behind that.
Asshole ghosts, asshole aliens punking you.
I hopped in Dad's UFO to go mutilate some cows and maybe mess with some poor Earthlings in Point Pleasant. Sure.
Here's a scene from the movie. What do you want? Is your refrigerator running? Do you want to play a game? Oh, wait.
I was going to say, Joel, you're almost getting on Bane levels of voice acting.
You studied the Mothman. I was born with him. No, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Never mind. He's more...
Yeah. Chopstick.
Tom Hardy based his character on the 1966 version of Bane. The bridge scene, though, effects-wise, I thought that was really cool.
It definitely gets the point across, like, pretty hardcore that people are dying right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially when it's panning away.
Yeah.
You're seeing all those headlights. And...
You've seen all the bridge...
Yeah.
Like coming apart, and the cars lifting up, like, suddenly and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, that seemed like it was pretty realistic, and it may have cost a lot of money to do, but I thought it looked good.
Yeah, that's a good payoff. Like, practical models. And you could almost ignore the fact that at the very end, Richard Gere and Laura Linney are obviously on a green screen.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
In the water.
Yeah.
And everything else is really cool.
Leading up to it, it's pretty awesome. And it's a very suspenseful moment. I have to say, as far as, like, the formula of this movie, like, this conclusion, the climax is pretty good. Yeah. As far as the practical effects are concerned.
The only real scare of the movie, I'd have to say. Like, everything else is creepy. That's something I can imagine happening.
Yeah.
Like a disaster like that. And we've all been in earthquakes.
Yep.
You know?
In California.
Yes. I don't mean, like, the listeners. I mean you, me, and...
Right. Us present in this room.
And Thomas.
Cats included.
It reminded me of real life, sad, tragedies that I've heard about that had to do with a dam breaking in the area. And I've heard interviews on NPR about it, and I've read, like, local history books about it, and it just reminded me of that when the bridge breaks in the movie, and knowing that did happen in real life, like, just reminded me of how terrible it is when you don't know that something that big is going to catastrophically fail and hurt and kill so many people.
A small town like that where everybody knows each other, it would just be devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, here's the real question. Do you think that Richard Gere and Laura Linney end up together at the end?
Of the movie?
Yes. No, like in real life.
Do I think their characters or the cop and the reporter, do they end up together? Sure. I don't see why not. I mean,
why not?
they were already kind of like doing this like sleepover thing, you know, nearing the end of this, and you know, the whole like, you know, the fact that Richard Gere was able to, you know, modify the prophecy because it's supposed to be 37 dead, but now it's only 36.
Well, she had a dream,
right?
That said, "Wake up, 37."
Oh, that's what it was.
Wake up, 37.
Was it 37?
I don't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
Wake up, 300. No, that's a stupid question. I was just...
They should have played Pretty Woman at the
She's walking back to me.
Mothman sure has some weird matchmaking.
All this to get these two together.
Gotta kill all these people just to make sure these two get together.
Oh, that's like the grand prophecy of what is the M. Night Shyamalan movie with the aliens?
Oh,
Signs,
right? Like we gave asthma to every other kid in the world up to this point just so that your son would survive when the aliens, because it's fate. It's fate, right?
Oh boy,
something like the grand design. Now, if I were Richard Gere, I'd probably just go move to Ojai, to that crazy house that Eric Roberts was in at the end of Inherent Vice.
That was a rehab center.
Like I said, crazy house.
/cult.
I don't know, he looked pretty comfortable. He had a robe.
He just go by the Pyro Mansion.
What? That's where the Mothman is.
Oh!
The Mothman of Pyro. Oh, there's the Billywhack monster. What was it called?
Oh, the Billywhack, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about
that's our local
urban legends,
right?
Yeah. The Billywhack.
Is he like a goat man?
I think he's a creature that's kind of, part animal or something. Yeah.
He's a hybrid created by a German scientist who escaped from World War II.
That's right, in the basement.
He was conducting experiments.
Yeah.
At the cannery. Or whatever.
Right. The secret basement of the cannery.
Mm-hmm. Look it up, people. Look up Santa Paula Billywhack. You will see this is a thing that actually is on the internet. And,
that makes it real.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, hi, Charman. Don't forget about him.
I don't know
the
Charman.
Charmander?
Tell us a little bit about the Charman.
Oh, crap. Okay,
I need my premiere ball to catch him.
I believe Charman is like a spirit-like entity of a man who died in a fire.
Mm.
I think that's the case. I don't think he's an actual living entity anymore. I think it's a spirit of a burned man.
He's a ghost who shows up.
Yeah.
When you're getting your vegan tacos or whatever.
No, more than likely it's when you're on I don't know, some sort of Boy Scout camp hike or something.
Yeah, stories.
Yeah.
When you're sneaking into some hot springs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whenever you say char, I think, char burger. Let's go to the Habit.
I knew about the Charman before I knew about Charburger.
Same.
Now I'm just like, oh, Charman. Like, it's my first point of reference to everything else Char.
Well, I knew about Charmander before I knew about Charburgers, but I still think about Charburgers. Not Pokemon.
I really want a Charburger.
Oh, God. Let's end this podcast.
I'll just go eat a PBJ.
Is there anything else you guys want to say about Mothman Prophecies? I think I'd say that you shouldn't watch this movie unless you're really curious about it.
I feel that I'm going to listen to the Astonishing Legends podcast, and then I'm going to rewatch the Mothman Prophecies. Not like this year, maybe like a couple years down the road, just to see if my opinion of it is still the same.
Yep.
That's where I'm at right now.
Oh, that's good.
I would recommend it, especially if you're into this kind of stuff. This kind of like creepy movies based on true stories. This isn't based on true events as much as some creepy stories are. It's kind of an amalgamation of different eyewitness testimonies that have been put together into this story that isn't really exactly what happened. I mean, not to say, I think it's an entertaining watch. I don't think it holds up as well as other scary movies that I really think are great, but I would say it's fun to watch with friends. Or maybe creepy to watch alone. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you were going to watch it, I wouldn't say watch it in a group. I would say turn out the lights, put on your headphones, and watch it yourself, and maybe you'll get more of an effect from that. Because I did try to rewatch it before we recorded again. We watched this movie last week, and I was watching it by myself in the house, and I was a little more into it, but I still was like, there's some things going on here that I'm just not into.
And I came home and said, are you watching the Mothman Prophecies again? Do we have to have a talk about the Mothman obsession in this house? No.
I thought you were saying that you tried to unplug the TV and the movie was still on there.
No.
The Mothman was taking over.
I said that afterwards. I can't make it stop.
Richard Gere. But you, Aaron, your wife says that this movie's great, right?
Oh man. I think Campa wished to be on this recording because she did have a tale to tell, a secondhand story from her sister who believes she actually met the Mothman. But maybe that's a tale that can be revealed in a future pod.
Yeah.
To our listeners.
Maybe you can record it. We can release it as a bonus.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see if she's up to giving us this tale of the Mothman story.
Juicy story waiting to be told.
This is definitely a movie that she wishes. If I could honestly, I probably shouldn't speak for her in this. She'd probably beat me up. But I'll just say real quick that she wishes that it had been a little more intense because she's a big horror movie buff, and she feels that this was a bit for a supernatural-ish type of film that it should have been more supernatural. So.
Yep. Agree with that.
Paranormal.
But the phone, no!
Chapstick!
Your shoe under your bed.
Fossil watch.
You have a Bible in the drawer.
Says Gideon on the inside. Oh my gosh.
What's in my pocket, Mothman? Fidget spinner!
You have a $2 bill. Wow, I didn't even know they still made them. All right, I'm going to read the outro stuff. You guys think of a lesson that you learned from the Mothman Prophecies. Hey, listener, if you got any suggestions or comments, write into pleasedon'tpodcast@gmail.com, message us on Facebook. Hey, I'm going to request a specific kind of email or message. If you got any supernatural stories that experiences that you've had, or movies about things that you know a lot about that were just utterly disappointing, write in. We'd love to hear about that. Or email, pleasedon'tpodcast@gmail.com, or facebook.com/PDSMiOS. If you listen to us on iTunes or through the app, podcast app on iPhone, we'd appreciate it if you left us a star rating. It's really easy to do. It takes about 2 seconds, maybe like 30 seconds, but it's a big help for us. If you could do that, we'd appreciate it. Check out the other podcasts on our podcast network. If you enjoy our particular sound, we recommend other things, like there's the new episode of Pet Cinematary, which is, I believe, on a TV movie called Devil Dog from Hell. Aaron, have you heard about that?
No.
It's about a dog, not a Rottweiler, a German Pinscher, I want to say.
Okay.
That is possessed by the devil and possesses other people.
I mean, aren't they all, though? All those German Pinschers?
No, they need love. How dare you. And a new episode of Podcast of Grayskull. They talk about the 10th episode of the Masters of the Universe series, where we get to find out a little bit about Orko's origins.
His mysterious origins, perhaps?
He comes out of a different dimension or planet or something.
It's dimension, dude.
And he
Spoiler.
He has a medallion with tons of magical powers.
Yep.
And he wants to have sex with his Orko cousin?
What?
Are you talking about the lady Orko?
Yeah.
It's not his cousin, right?
No, they're related.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But who knows what their dimension society is like?
Yeah, I mean, they all reproduce, asexually anyway, so it doesn't matter.
They just lay an Orko egg.
They put down those ropes, and an Orko comes out. Just happens.
Like a reverse death of Obi-Wan?
Exactly. Yeah, he come back. You were the master, now I am the teacher. Wait, the student. Whatever. Anyways, it's great. Podcast of Grayskull. Pet Cinematary. The Realist. Lots of good stuff.
I thought I might plug another podcast. One of our friends records a podcast called Russophiles Unite, and I guested on it recently.
Nice.
I did a really cool silent film that was called
Queen something?
Alita, Queen of Mars?
Mars.
Oh, cool.
Let me get the right name.
Battle Angel Alita.
Man, that's coming out in December. I can't.
Oscars, man.
I know.
When has Robert Rodriguez ever let you down?
I actually like his stuff, Joel.
I know.
I still haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Mexico, though.
Well, it's a movie.
It's Alita, Queen of Mars, and it's slightly sci-fi as well.
Oh, cool.
And it's a propaganda movie as well. But it was really entertaining, really creative, awesome costumes.
Nice.
Really like Man Rayan or something.
Nice.
Like, really
That's awesome.
Cool. So yeah, you should check out Russophiles Unite for all things Russian related.
Yep. I also did an episode on that, but season 2 of his show has not come out yet, and we're both on that season 2 thing, so it hasn't been released
a little
yet.
bit later.
Yeah, but there's lots of good episodes out already. Okay, I need a lesson from you guys about this movie, The Iceman Prophecies.
The Iceman.
All about Bobby Drake and what he predicted.
Death of a Mothman.
Death of a Mothman. All right. Well, I mean, if there's anything that we can, any life lessons we can take from this movie and apply to ourselves and our lives, I got a creepy one, real creeper one. Say, for example.
What, Joel?
Did you say creepy?
Yeah. All right. So, something I learned from the Mothman Prophecies.
Yes, Aaron.
If you are trying to stalk someone, say multiple days in a row, and they happen to catch you, you can just say, "I don't remember being at your house the last 3 days. How did I end up in West Virginia?
Please get that shotgun out of my face."
Yeah, there you go. There's your alibi.
Claim insanity or
Mothman.
Loss of time.
Insanity or Mothman. He used the Mothman maneuver. Not guilty.
Oh, you ate Twinkies and it was the Mothman.
Yes.
Anywho, that's my lesson I learned from the Mothman Prophecies.
Aaron wants you to stalk.
My lesson from the Mothman Prophecies is take pictures. Take more pictures.
There you go.
It's always good to have photographs of things that you're telling people about. And if they had some photographs of the Mothman, I'm sure they would have been real interesting.
Yep, nobody had a chance to. There.
I don't know. Google Images has shown me a few images of Mothman.
They've shown you several photoshopped images of...
I don't know what you mean by this. Why do you keep using Photoshop?
Flying goof.
I don't think these have gone through some sort of Photoshop, Joel.
None of those are from 1970,
so they're real, Joel. I can't even. I'm trying so hard.
A picture of Mothman at that McDonald's.
Oh, it's real, Joel.
It's not real, Aaron.
Mothman's just like pigeons. They're everywhere.
Mothman. There's a Mothman among us.
And you're the Mothman, Joel.
Charman.
The pigeons are
Charburger Man.
descendants of the Mothman.
Pigeon Man.
Pigeons are the descendants of Mothman.
I saw a giant thing. It wasn't a bird. It was too big to be a bird, but it flew over my house and it was just and then it pooped on my car.
Then I lost the last 3 days.
One time I went out to my car over here where we park, and it was just covered with bird crap.
Like,
I have no idea how it happened.
Like, there's nothing above your car to
No, exactly.
represent where a bird could
It's like
perch and just
not
poop
an
all day.
overhang. It's like that.
Right.
Like a whole bunch of seagulls flew over and was like 1, 2, 3, go, or something. Or it was the Mothman. I'm not sure.
It could have been a Mothman.
It could have been. My lesson is that if you have a job as a reporter and you find yourself in a crazy situation where there seems like there might be a story here, you really do need to get your boss's approval before sticking around in this thing. I know you're going through a hard time because your wife was killed by a Mothman or something, or and your car doesn't work.
Your car magically doesn't work every now and then, but it's perfectly fine.
People keep sending you.
Shot you through time.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah. And you walked into a bathtub and you had different shoes on. That's a story point in this thing. I think he gets out of his car and he has different shoes. Whatever. Anyways, do your job. That's all I'm saying. And maybe you won't end up in Crazy Town, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Someday we're going to Point Pleasant.
We're going to Point Pleasant. Oh, we are.
After we track down the Fresno alien, next up, Mothman.
Oh, and I apologize to anybody who believes in the Bible codes, if that's a real thing that people have found wisdom from. I don't know.
Nobody's bagging on the Bible code.
I'm going to go study some Sasquatch writings. Just give me a heads up. I'll be back with some more knowledge for you guys.
Yep, and I'm going to go climb into the mountains of Russia and possibly fall through a time warp and leave only my teeth behind. I don't remember what happens in the Dyatlov Pass incident. Anyways, we'll see you next week, folks. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
If you or anyone you know
eartrumpetaudio.com.
Ideas and entertainment.
Loud and clear.